What if the most dangerous part of a war is the part no one can see? When people imagine conflict between powerful nations, they picture missiles in the sky, fighter jets screaming overhead, or explosions lighting up the horizon. But modern wars are rarely that simple. Today, some of the most dangerous battles happen silently, inside computer networks, in narrow shipping lanes, or through decisions made in a few tense seconds inside command rooms. And when tensions rise between major powers, like the United States and Iran, analysts begin asking a different kind of question. Not just who might strike first, but something far more unsettling. What if the greatest danger isn't the war everyone expects, but the chain reaction no one sees coming? Because history shows us something important. Wars rarely unfold the way anyone plans. Sometimes the biggest crises begin with something small: a misunderstanding, a technical error, a decision made too quickly. And in a world filled with powerful weapons, global alliances, and fragile supply chains, one small mistake can echo across the entire planet. To understand the risks, we first need to understand the situation. Relations between the United States and Iran have been tense for decades. Political disagreements, economic sanctions, regional rivalries, and military incidents have created a long history of mistrust. Both countries operate in the same strategic region of the world, the Middle East, a region that holds enormous importance for global energy supplies and international trade. Over the years, tensions have occasionally escalated. Military forces move closer together. Warnings are issued. Sanctions tighten, and each side watches the other carefully. In such environments, even small events can feel dangerous. A naval encounter in the Persian Gulf, a missile test, an unexpected military movement. Most of the time, these moments pass without major consequences. But analysts know that in periods of high tension, the margin for error becomes dangerously small. When people think of war, they usually think of visible force. But some of the most powerful tools of modern conflict are far less visible. In the digital age, entire nations depend on networks, electric grids, transportation systems, financial markets, communication satellites. A well-placed cyber attack could disrupt these systems without a single missile being launched. Lights could go out. Air traffic systems could slow down. Banking networks could experience disruptions. None of this requires traditional weapons. And because cyber attacks are difficult to trace with certainty, they introduce something dangerous into international conflict: uncertainty. If one country believes another has launched a cyber operation, retaliation may come quickly, sometimes before the full facts are known. Another hidden vulnerability lies in geography. One of the world's most important energy corridors passes through a narrow body of water known as the Strait of Hormuz. A significant portion of the world's oil shipments travel through this route every day. Any disruption there, even temporary, could ripple through the global economy. Energy prices might rise. Shipping routes could shift. Financial markets could react quickly to uncertainty. This is why analysts closely monitor tensions in the region, because sometimes the consequences of conflict are not limited to the battlefield. They reach into homes, businesses, and economies across the globe. Another factor complicates the situation. Modern conflicts often involve more than two countries. Alliances, partnerships, and regional rivalries create a complex web of interests. Instead of direct confrontation, nations sometimes support different groups or partners in nearby regions. This creates what analysts call proxy conflicts. In these situations, Tensions can spread across multiple locations simultaneously. One incident in one area can influence events somewhere else. And when many actors are involved, predicting outcomes becomes far more difficult. But perhaps the most dangerous risk is also the simplest: human error. History offers many examples where military systems or intelligence warnings created moments of extreme tension. Radar signals misinterpreted, communication failures, technical glitches. In most cases, these situations were resolved quickly. But each time, the outcome depended on calm decision-making under intense pressure. And during high-stakes geopolitical tensions, those moments can arrive when conflict is something distant, something that happens far away. But in today's interconnected world, the effects rarely stay local. Energy markets respond quickly to uncertainty. Global trade routes adjust. Financial systems react. Airlines reroute flights. Shipping companies alter schedules. And sometimes, governments introduce new economic measures or sanctions. These shifts can affect everything from fuel prices to supply chains. In other words, events in one strategic region can influence the daily lives of people thousands of kilometers away. That's why analysts watch these situations carefully, not because conflict is inevitable, but because preparation and awareness matter. Expert concerns. For military planners and geopolitical analysts, the greatest concern is rarely a single event. It's the possibility of escalation, a situation where actions trigger reactions, which trigger further reactions. And suddenly, a series of small steps becomes something much larger. Experts study patterns from previous crises. They examine how communication channels function during tense moments. They analyze how quickly decisions must be made. And they often emphasize the importance of something simple: clear communication. Because when communication breaks down, misunderstandings become more likely. And misunderstandings are one of the most common sparks in international crises. Now imagine the most dangerous scenario analysts quietly discuss. Not a planned war, not a deliberate attack, but a chain reaction. A cyber incident disrupts infrastructure. A radar signal triggers an alert. A defensive system responds automatically. Leaders receive incomplete information, and decisions must be made quickly. Within minutes, multiple systems begin reacting to each other. None of it started as a deliberate attempt to escalate. But once the chain begins, stopping it becomes increasingly difficult. This is what strategists call crisis instability, a situation where uncertainty and speed make careful decision-making harder. And in a world where advanced technologies operate faster than human reactions, this possibility becomes one of the most serious concerns. Despite these risks, history also shows something encouraging. Nations often find ways to step back from the edge. Diplomacy, communication, and caution have prevented many crises from escalating further. Still, the balance remains delicate. Modern technology has made the world more connected than ever before, but it has also made conflicts more complex. Sometimes the greatest dangers are not the ones we see clearly. They are the ones hidden within systems, decisions, and moments of uncertainty. Which raises a question worth thinking about. In a world where a single misunderstanding can ripple across continents, how fragile is the stability we depend on every day? And how close have we come to discovering just how thin that line really is? Subscribe to The Unseen, because some of the most important stories are the ones happening quietly, just beneath the surface.